Hi everybody, as we get deeper and deeper into modern classroom, it's time for us to talk about how we're going to classify our lessons as must-dos, should-dos, and aspire-to-dos. So there's three classifications, and you got to break down your instruction to these three things. You got your must-dos. What do you need to know to meet your objective and pass the mastery check? What's the most important meat of the lesson sandwich, right, that they have to know to get past? Then you got your should do's. This is what's that little extra push that someone who's struggling with the concept might need. So I'm thinking about, a little extra activity that's really going to get them there. So if I'm doing that whole sandwich idea, the must do's, the meat, this is like the lettuce, the tomato, the onion. It kind of spruces it up. And then your aspire to do is like whether or not I make that sandwich a panini, right? Like I'm taking it to that next level. I'm bringing it up a notch. I'm challenging the kids that are ready for a challenge. I'm bringing out the creative energy in the kids that need that. It's not required. It's not necessary to pass the mastery check, but it's going to bring them to that next level. So let's really look at each of the three of them more closely. So must-dos, and notice I'm using colors through this. What we've been doing is using green for our must-dos, blue for our should-dos, orange for our aspire-to-dos, so the kids see the colors and they automatically know which is which. So the first thing about a must-do is that it covers the essential skills and the contents. You can't pass the mastery check without doing this. A must-do is non-negotiable. Everyone has to do the must-dos. There's no choice in that. So for myself, I usually always have the guided notes, the ed puzzle, whatever I'm doing as the video instruction, which would have been my teacher mini lesson at the beginning, right? The teacher-centered moment that I've turned into video instruction. My application, how do they show they know this? How do they show that from the notes they understood it? And then the mastery check is a must-do. So those are the must-dos from my perspective. You're just thinking about what do they absolutely need to know to complete the mastery check and meet the objectives of the lesson. So you're still writing your lesson plan, and this is what's the activities they have to do to meet that objective. Should-dos are taking to the next level, right? We're just moving up like a ladder here. So a should-do helps students develop their skills or knowledge. Students who complete them will likely produce more developed work on your final projects or assessments, whatever your mastery check is. But when circumstances require, students can skip these. So if you've got a kid who really struggled through the must-do, a student who's not quite there yet, or someone who's been absent a lot, don't have to be done to understand the concept, but they will bolster and improve their understanding. Then you've got that they can be assigned as a prerequisite. So you could always go back and be like, okay, you did your must-dos, but I really want you to do this before you get to the mastery check. You can do more with a should-do. You don't have to, but you can. I want you to really think about when you're classifying, what would you usually use to reinforce or allow for extra practice to meet the objective? Like, what's your usual, like, kids who don't get it are going to do this, or they're going to sit in a small group and do this with me. You can still pull a small group. You can still do the should-dos with them, right? That's the beauty of this model. But you want to think about what's that little extra to help the kid that doesn't get it or needs a little more practice before they get assessed. Your aspire to-dos are the most challenging and interesting lessons of any unit because they take the skills that they've already had and they apply them in a more sophisticated way. Everyone should want to aspire to do them. Some might not get there. Some might be like, I don't want to do the aspire to do's. And that's okay in the beginning because the more interesting you make them, the more challenging you make them, more kids who will want to do them. It's at next levels. So you're going to do challenges and games. I throw a lot of Kahoots in because, they want that game break. So they're going to work themselves to have the time to do that. Often it's an extension. Creative or a creative activity, in English, I'll have them writing another story, applying it to another concept, doing a Kahoot review, making a poster to teach other students about this concept, kind of going to that next level. And it really shows that they get it. So you're thinking to yourself, what really shows that they get it and they can apply this skill, that they're like really ready to be completely independent with it. So here's an example from one of my lessons. We were reading the book Color of My Words by Lynn Joseph, and the 5th section was about conflict, right? And they had to read. So my objectives are on the bottom in yellow. Read and discuss a novel showing my comprehension through answering and asking questions. and identify and explain types of conflict within a novel. So notice my must-do, I used an EdPuzzle instead of guided notes that time. They have to read. The figurative language has been a objective. They know that's for the whole unit, so they have to apply that. They did an activity applying the conflict skills to the book, and the mastery check. My should-dos was there was some extra practice on how to find conflicts. So if they watched a video and they're like, not sure, they could do that. And showing, I can really apply this by using a strategy called somebody, what, but, so, then. So I can see what the character's motivation is and what gets in their way, what's their conflict. And then I had a quizzes, which is like a Kahoot, for their Aspire to Do. So there was something at all levels, and they knew what was expected to them because of the tracker that was there. I've got another example for you that comes right from Modern Classroom Project. They put this one out. So they have an essential question: how does the U.S. Constitution shape the rights and responsibilities of American citizens and their government? So they broke down what they have to be able to do, right? They took the objectives and they broke them down. What can the students do? So I looked at it as activities to meet my objectives. They have an essential question and the objectives and the activities to meet those. I'm not going to read you this whole thing, but I do have this attached to today's lesson. So if you wanted to look more closely at this, you could, especially social studies teachers. Another example that they had, there's an entire unit that they wanted done in 13 class periods. And this is what they wanted to do. So they have the lessons, the project, the exam. They've broken down what's most important. Notice they have more must-dos than they have anything else, right? Or they have some things that are half a must-do, half a should-do. And I've done that myself. Like, okay, first half of this activity is a must-do, and then if you're ready for the second half, that's a should-do, and you can do that. So these are just to give you some examples. But really it's, okay, here's my objective. This is how I would normally teach it, right? Then I go, okay, my instruction is my video and my notes. That's going to be a must-do because they have to listen to me in class. Then what would we have done as a whole class to make sure they get this? And then what would individuals be doing? And then how can I challenge the ones that are ahead? It's the same thing you think of for a regular lesson plan. It's just putting it at their own pace and giving it these titles. I wish you luck. Ask questions, dig in, and I know you've got this.